What up? Welcome back to another episode in Best Deck in Blank, where we take a set and build the best commander from that set. Today we're covering foundations, as you can tell from the Scryfall tag, and quickly, before covering the deck, we'll go through some of the cards, and maybe why I didn't pick some of them. So things like Aurelia, or, Atali, stuff like that, Halana, Elena, who are typically pretty good commanders, aren't specific to this set specifically. Or aren't specific to the set or new to the set. Things like Krenko as well. Things like Lathril are not new cards. So yeah, I wanted to build a new card from the set, like obviously not Ovika either. And what I ended up with was Alesha, Who Laughs at Death. It's a Rakdos Reanimator deck. But yeah, Reanimator, obviously a very broken archetype, and let's cover the deck, talk about it a little bit. Alesha, 3 mana 2/2 with first strike, and when it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and then raid at the beginning of your end step if you attacked. Return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So essentially, you want to play her early, you want to swing with her and just bring cards back every turn, and those cards will just help you win the game. Onto the artifacts, we're playing standard ramp, things like Arcane Signet, Brotherhood Regalia. We have a bit of can't be blocked evasion type stuff, because obviously if she can't get in, can't get the effect, not great. Curse Mirror's in here because I'm kind of just really high on Curse Mirror right now. Also, you can just have it come in as one of the big things you've reanimated from a previous turn, so you should almost always have a hit for it to come in as. Felwar Stone is obviously good ramp. Key to the City is a way to make our commander unblockable, and we can essentially cycle a card at the end of our opponent before us as end step. We can just tap, discard a card, and then pay 2 on upkeep, or when we untap this to draw a card if we have too much mana. Prowler's Helm is in here to stop being blocked. Psychic Paper, same thing. Rakdos Signet is ramp. Soul Ring is ramp. Swiftfoot Boots is mainly hex proof because it is a bit of a linchpin commander. Talisman of Indulgence, more ramp. Trailblazer's Boots is Landwalk. On to the creatures. We got cards that are just obviously good in our graveyards, like Anger. Haste, and as long as it's in your graveyard and you control a mountain, all your creatures have haste. So obviously giving everything haste is pretty good. Bladewing, Deathless Tyrant, 7 mana 6/6 flying haste. When it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, for each creature card in your graveyard, you make a 2/2 Zombie Knight creature token with Menace. We're doing a decent bit of milling, especially if we hit all our mill cards. So making a bunch of 2/2s and it just being a 7 mana 6/6 bomb is good for the deck. Chainer, Nightmare Depth, 4 mana 3/2. You can discard a card. If you do, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn, activate only once each turn. And whenever non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. Kind of irrelevant with our commander, but with Chainer's effect themselves, it's pretty good. Combustible Gear Hulk, 6 mana 6/6 first strike. When it enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If they don't, you mill 3 cards. Then this creature deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those cards. So obviously if they don't want to give you the cards, you mill 3, but there's a lot of big bombs in the deck, so they end up taking a lot of damage. It's kind of a win-win scenario where you either get cards in your hand or you get cards in your trash that you can reanimate with your commander and deal a bunch of damage to an opponent. Doom Necromancer, 3 mana 2/2, and you can pay a black, tap it, sack it to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's 4 mana, bring something back, but it's on a creature, so we can bring this back with Alesha if Alesha's not big enough to bring back a bigger creature, and then just sack this instead. Atali, Primal Storm, obviously another just banger, big guy, 6 mana 6/6. When it attacks, exile top card of each player's library. You may cast spells. Cast any number of spells from among them without paying their mana costs. So yeah, you hit with them. You don't even have to hit, you just have to attack. And then you just get to cast a bunch of spells for free. Flayer of the Hatebound, Undying. Whenever this creature or another creature enters from your graveyard, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Obviously very strong when we're bringing back like a 5/5 each turn. And then we're just also, in addition to the 5/5 coming back, dealing 5 to anything. Gary, or Grey Merchant of Asphodel, 5 mana 2/4. When it enters, each opponent loses X life. where X is your devotion to black, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. This card obviously broken in Commander because you're healing triple the life dealt. And with a bunch of big creatures, having like 5 or 6 devotion to heal 15 or 18 is pretty easy to do. Into Seneschal of the Sun, there's a bit of discard synergy. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. When you do, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains trample till end of turn. It's a good way to make Alesha bigger faster. And then whenever you discard one more cards, exile top card of your library. You may play that card until your next end step. So it also gives us card advantage while growing our Alesha. Jaxus the Troublemaker, 4 mana, you can pay a red, tap, discard a card, make a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when the token dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. So, I don't know, making a clone of something with a good ETB effect is obviously very strong. It dies, which is unfortunate because you can't bring it back. But the main reason we're playing this card is you can pay 2 to blitz it. So, it's an alternative casting cost. If you cast it for its blitz cost, it gains haste. And when this creature dies, draw a card, sack it at the beginning of the next end step. So we can blitz out Jaxus. Jaxus will die. And then we can bring Jaxus back with our commander, which is pretty cool. Junji, the Midnight Sky, 5 mana, 5/5 dragon. When he dies, you can either have each opponent discard 2 cards and lose 2 life, or you can put a non-dragon creature card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. Onto, or from a graveyard specifically, so it doesn't even have to be yours. Typically, you'll probably have the best graveyard, unless there's like Eldrazi or something. But yeah, it's just a good reanimation target. It's 5 mana, 5/5, so it's big. Croxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, 2 mana, 6/6. When it enters, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever it enters or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card loses 3 life. And you can escape it for black, black, red, red. This card is especially good with things like Flare, where you can bring it back really early in the game without many counters, and then just like deal 6 to something, which is sick. Also, we'll end up having a lot of cards in our graveyard, because we do play a few mill cards, so escaping it isn't that hard. And it's also just recurable discard, which is interesting. Massacre Worm, 6 mana, 6/5. Pseudo board wipe for little creatures. When it enters, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Obviously, this is just a good card. Noxious Gear Hulk, another kind of big guy, but this has single target removal and life gain stapled to it. Menace, when he enters, you may destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. So it's like an opposite Swords to Plowshare, where you destroy a creature and gain the life instead of the owner gaining the life. Also, it destroys instead of exiles, but either way. Yeah, just a good bomb to play. Shield Druid, this is probably the best card to bring out in the deck. 7 mana, 6/6 Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature of their choice. So it's removal as well as more reanimation every turn. Shriek Maw is one of those cooler elementals. 4 mana, 3/2, but you pay its evoke cost for 2. When it enters, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. And then when you evoke it, it dies after it enters. So you could evoke it, have it come in, kill something, swing with Alesha, bring it back at the end of the turn, kill something else. It's a good option for getting rid of cards. Stinkweed Imp, this is kind of one of our mill cards. When it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. So kind of just Death Touch. But we're mainly playing it for Dredge 5. So if you draw a card, you can instead mill 5 to bring this back to the hand instead. Once it's in your graveyard, we can always essentially just mill 5 to draw it, which is nice. Stitcher Splier, one of the better black mill cards. When it enters or dies, mill 3. Pretty simple, pretty easy. It disincentivizes people from attacking you because you can just chump it and then mill 3, which is good for you. Terror of the Peaks, similar to Flare of the Unbound. When another creature enters, if it deals damage equal to its power to any target. It's not specific from the graveyard, but most of the cards we're bringing in are from the graveyard, so it works anyways. It also kind of just has a ward, pay 3 life. Yeah, but this might have been before ward was a thing, so. Twilight Diviner, this card's from Lorwyn. This card, I believe I talked about it in my Lorwyn video. I think is nuts. When it enters, Surveil 2, which is already pretty good because it cares about graveyard stuff. And then whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if they entered or were cast from a graveyard, Make a token that's a copy of one of them. This ability triggers only once each turn, or else it would be broken. This card is just like really good. Like doubling Terror of the Peaks, Shriekmaw, Shieldred, maybe not Shieldred, Noxious Folk, Massacre Worm. It just like, I don't know. This card just making copies of whatever you bring back, and a lot of them having ETBs, doubling ETBs. This card is bonkers. For 3 mana, 3/3/2, yeah. Valentumor, 4 mana, 2/2, Death Touch. When it enters, you can entomb something. You can put a card from your deck into the graveyard. Yeah. This is just, I don't know, it's a reanimatable entomb from your grave, which is pretty cool. And it has Death Touch, which is nice as well for blocking. On to the enchantments. Animate Dead. There's a lot of card text on this card. It's enchant a creature card in a graveyard. When the enchantment dies, it dies. When the enchanted creature dies, Animate Dead dies. And the enchanted creature gets -1, -0, which is pretty relevant. Yeah, that's what all this text says. It's reanimate on 2 mana. Ripples of Undeath, 2 mana. God, this card would probably still be good at 3. At the beginning of your pre-combat main, mill 3, then you may pay 1 and 3 life. If you do, put a card among those cards in your hand. So worst case scenario, it's just mill 3 every turn, which sets up your graveyard for Alesha. Best case scenario, you can also bring a card back from those cards that you're milling each turn, like hitting a land drop or something. Sneak Attack, 4 mana, you can pay a red, put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield, it gains haste, sack it at the beginning of the next end step. You can always just stack this trigger with the Alesha trigger, have the creature that you sneak attacked into play die, and then Alesha to bring it back, which is a pretty fun interaction. On to the instance, Medieval, destroy artifact creature planeswalker. We're in black-red, so our removal is super good. Big score. These are like the looter type cards. Discard a card, draw 2, make 2 treasures. We can discard a creature that we want to bring back, and then draw 2. Bitter Triumph, discard a card or pay 3 life, destroy a creature. Again, discarding your big hits to reanimate. Chaos Warp is Chaos Warp. Deadly Dispute, sack a creature or an artifact. We can just sack like something that we don't care about, and we can reanimate and draw and make a treasure. Discard a card or sack an artifact to draw 2. Entomb, put anything in our grave. Pretty good for what we want to reanimate. Haste Magic. This is one of the few cards. I'm playing a few of these. It's just a way to pump Alesha up. So target creature gets +3/+1 and gains haste till end of turn. Exile top card of your library. You may play it until your next end step. The second part, kind of whatever. It's 2 mana. You can give Alesha haste and +3/+1. So you could like play Alesha out on turn 3. Turn 4, haste magic swing. It's now a 6/3 or 6/4 in this case with first strike, so people aren't blocking. And then you bring back a 6 mana creature at the end of the turn. Kind of wild. Monstrous Rage, same thing, +2/+0 till end of turn. And then you give it a Monstrous Roll token, so essentially the +1/+1, it's +3/+1. Rakdos Charm, I kind of like Rakdos Charm right now. It just has a bunch of versatility. Each creature deals 1 to its controller is nice. Destroying an artifact is nice for 2 mana. Exile target player's graveyard is also nice. Terminate, destroy a creature. Thrill of Possibility, discard a card, draw 2. Unexpected Windfall, discard a card, draw 2, make 2 treasures. Same as Big Score, but 2 red pips instead. Not going to cover the lands until the end because it's kind of whatever. On to the sorceries. Blasphemous Sact is just good board wipe. Blasphemous Edict is probably slightly better board wipe. Both good. Breach the Multiverse. This is just a way for everybody to mill 10. I mean, it's good for you. Then you bring back a creature from each opponent's graveyard. So yeah, this card is just a bomb. This card is sick. I love playing with this card. Buried Alive will send 3 of our cards to the trash. It's like triple Entomb, but at sorcery speed. Faithless Looting, draw 2, pitch 2, big things that we can reanimate. Feed the Swarm is kill a creature enchantment. Living Death is each player exiles their creatures from the graveyard, sacks all creatures, and then brings all the exiled creatures back onto the battlefield. So if we have a bunch of big hits in our graveyard, we can just bring them all back with Living Death, essentially. Persist will bring back a non-legendary and give it a -1/-1 counter, so it's just a good reanimation card. Reanimate, obviously a really good reanimation card. We lose life equal to the mana value, which is a little spooky sometimes, but it's also from a graveyard, not yours. You can bring back somebody else's thing. Reckless Charge, +3/+0 gains haste. So obviously this is good with Alesha if you have 1 mana to spare on the turn that you play her. Rise of the Dark Realms, Mastery Animation, late game bomb. We're doing enough milling. This card is just good. Stitch Together, 2 mana, return a card from graveyard to hand. Then if you have 7 more cards in your graveyard, you return to the battlefield instead. Vandal Blast will hit all of our opponent's artifacts. Good artifact sweeper. Victimize, again, I think this is probably one of the best cards in black. You sack a creature, choose 2 creatures in your graveyard, and they come back tapped. The tap part, who cares? It's sack creature, bring back 2 creatures, which is really good for 3 mana. Wild Ride, +3/+0 gains haste, similar to the other card we were talking about. Also, you can harmonize it later, which is cool. And then, yeah, that's the deck. We'll quickly go over lands. I mean, because this is best in blank, I am playing like a much more expensive land based on what I'd usually play. Arena of Glory, for example, you can pay a red, tap it, exert it to add double red, and then if you spend on a creature, you get haste. Obviously good for Alesha. Verge, because we're playing a lot of swamps and mountains. We're playing the flip lands because I kind of want to try putting them in more decks, see how they work. I have them in a Selesnya deck right now, and it usually feels good, but Blood Crypt, yo, shout out that price. Shout out Lorwyn Eclipsed. Fetch lands, Bojuka Bog is Bojuka Bog. This cares about having a Swamp or Mountain, which we'll most likely have. Foreboding Ruin, we can reveal Swamp or Mountain, which we usually have. 2 or more other lands, 2 or more opponents. Obviously, we're mainly playing Raucous Leader because it has the Swamp Mountain tag. It coming in tapped is a little unlucky unless we like turn 1 fetch land it on our opponent's end step. Rogue's Passage and Secret Tunneler are both in here just to give our Alesha unblockable. And then, yeah, we're just playing lands that come in untapped or lands that do life stuff or like grave stuff. So yeah, for Takenuma, we can pay 4, discard a card, mill 3, return a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. So if we can't reanimate, we can just Takenuma something back to hand. And then Blackgate is we can pay 2, tap, choose a player with the most life or tied for the most life. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that players control this turn. Just another way to make Alesha unblockable. On the sideboard, these are kind of themes or cards that I thought of. I'm like, maybe. Archon of Cruelty, this card bangs, and like Rakdos Reanimator in Modern, for example. Turn 1, Faithless Looting, turn 2, Persist the Archon of Cruelty. GG from there. Unfortunately, in Commander, hitting a specific player instead of all 3 makes it a decent bit worse. It's also 8 mana, so it's a little harder to reanimate. Braids is interesting, but I didn't think it was enough of like a good card or what I wanted to do with reanimation for this card to be good. Lightning Greaves, I think this is maybe better if you're not playing like Wild Ride, Reckless Charge, all those things to buff your Alesha, because obviously giving her Shroud makes it a little awkward. Morbid Opportunist just in here. We could probably use more card draw on the deck. There isn't that much, but also, do you need much card draw when you're just reanimating bombs every turn? Maybe not. Withering Torment. We could always be playing more removal. This is obviously a very good removal card. Thankfully with Architect, just go to categories. Besides like the newer cards that are not categorized yet, we have a decent bit of removal in this deck. 14 pieces among creatures and board wipes. Yeah. Obviously bunch of recursion, bunch of ramp. I like using this feature, but it makes it a lot harder to like actually present, so I typically don't use it that much. Also, I care more about how many creatures than how many removal cards, because I can just look at the creature and tell. Either way, that's the deck. Thank you very much for watching. Next week I'll be back. I made a Lorwyn Eclipsed one. I'm probably going to tweak it over this week. This deck definitely doesn't play at Core 2, by the way. Yeah, so next week I'll probably be covering Lorwyn Eclipse Best Commander. There weren't many options, but I think I found one that works pretty well. But yeah, until then, bye-bye.